we are slowly progressing on this path of Bhagavad Gita, which is known as an Upanishad. Though it is not technically an Upanishad, yet it is the sum and substance of all Upanishads. And Yoga Shastra, at the end of every chapter you will hear that Upanishad Su, Yoga Shastra. So it's a Yoga Shastra. Shastra means a text which contains certain important instructions related to yoga. And yoga, as we all know by now, is the way to unite oneself with anything, and in this context, it is to unite one's mind with the Supreme Divine. And so this Bhagavad Gita is like an instruction, is a manual, how to go about uniting oneself with the Divine. For everything we read a manual. Suppose I buy a new phone, which is the most frequently done thing now. First buy, then upgrade again, and so on. So every time we do, new features are released, and then we want to know how to use it, how to fully utilize all the features, then we read a manual. And once we read the manual, we come to know how to efficiently, effectively utilize the gadget. So in a way, Yoga Shastra is a manual which kind of teaches us how to use whatever is being told in the most effective way, ultimate way, without underutilizing it, without misusing it, without abusing it, how to do. And what is this Shastra telling us? How to unite ourselves with the Divine. That is the purpose of life. For all those who still think there is any other purpose of life, like Khana, Pina, Sona, Marna, in the last chapter we saw, who are the people who cannot appreciate the Divine? They are those who are dushkritino, who keep committing sins and engage in evil acts. Then mudadihi, foolish fellows who cannot understand any higher truths. Naradamaha, that category we remember quite vividly. Means the lower kind of human beings who are not interested in higher things, but lower things. Why? Because they are driven by their senses and sense pleasures. So for them, life is all about making merry, enjoying. And today's generation, there is a term, YOLO. Are you aware of that? Yeah, you only live once. There can't be a more foolish statement than this. Yes, you only live once in this body, then it is right. But you live only once, and so make the maximum of this opportunity to have got this human birth and then born in a family, in a city, and then enjoy life and make best of it. And that is the philosophy which drives most of the world, YOLO philosophy. But that YOLO philosophy is a hollow philosophy, because that's not the truth at all. Bhagavad Gita, Yoga Shastra will tell us, no, you don't live only once, you keep coming back again and again. Until when? Till you realize that you are that supreme divinity and nothing other than that. Till that Advaitic truth dawns upon you, there is no end to this cycle of birth and death, and we all know that by now, especially because of so many Paravidya classes and my various discourses, and recently through Bhagavad Gita. So we kind of have known all these things, and I don't have to repeat that. But what I was trying to tell you is that as we progress on this path of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna being such a wonderful teacher, so only a teacher can appreciate another teacher. And when I think deeply about how Krishna puts the concepts across, and how carefully, without overburdening the student, without overwhelming the student, or without scaring the student away from the spiritual path, he is gradually, carefully, very slowly and sweetly teaching Arjuna. And we should never forget that their classroom is not some under the tree like all the other Upanishads have been taught, where peacefully you are sitting under a tree and teacher is teaching and you are learning. It is in the middle of a battlefield. That too, when a decision has to be made, you can't take too much time. The battle is about to start. And the pressure of making a decision at that moment, how overwhelming it was already on Arjuna to decide. On top of that, he has to learn the truths of the life and read the manual much later. He's 89 years old, should have read it much before. Now you don't read the manual when the gadget breaks down. You read it when you buy it, so that you don't misuse it or abuse it or underuse it. But unfortunately or fortunately, whichever way, Krishna knows the best time to teach this to Arjuna. And this single pupil, single teacher class, the message is going on. Until now, we have learnt all the other yogas. Every chapter of Bhagavad Gita is a yoga. It ends as a yoga. Name itself is yoga. Last time it was Jnana Vijnana Yoga, which was born out of Dhyana Yoga. And Dhyana Yoga was to help us focus our mind on something for long enough till that thing reveals itself to us. That is Dhyana Yoga. You think of something for too long and then the truth of it is known to you. Many scientists have done that. In a way, they were also dhyanis. They sat and thought about a problem for too long. Suddenly, in a moment, like a flash, the answer came to them. We have heard of many such discoveries. We call it serendipity and things like that. But the truth is that that's their intuition which flashes and gives the answer because they have thought about it for far too long, too intensely. So when you think of the truth of spiritual life, that you are divine and none other than divine, for long enough, it also reveals itself to you. But our problem is what? Our mind does not stay in one place for too long. It keeps on vacillating between this and that is the major issue why we cannot think of. Then I told you 9 seconds, if you keep your mind on something, it is dharana, that is concentration. 9 into 9 is dhyana, 81 seconds, and 9 into 9 into 9 is samadhi, means that is the time when it reveals itself to you. But our fate, we live 100 years, our scriptures say shatamanam bhavati shatayuhu, live for 100 years because they are hoping that at least in 100 years time you will be able to focus your mind for 9 into 9 into 9 seconds and realize God. But 100 years pass, yet we don't find that 11-12 minutes of constant integrated awareness. We don't find those 11 and a half, 12 minutes in a lifespan of 100 years also. And now this chapter is going to really throw us off the guard. It will tell you it's not even these 100 years, not in your 100 years. 100 years of Brahma also, things don't happen. That's the fate of a human mind. Uncontrolled, unbridled human mind is such that it is very difficult to bring it to focus on any truth, especially the truth of God. And that there is a reason for that. Kathopanishad, Yamadharmaraja says to Nachiketa, why it's so difficult? Because all the indriyas are created by the divine himself in such a way. Paranchikhani vatrinat swayambhu tasmat paran pashyati na antaratman. Therefore it sees only outside, it runs behind the things of the outside but doesn't want to turn within. Kaschid dhira pratyaga atmanam aikshat avrita chakshu amrutatvamichan. Someone courageous, daring, sincere seeker, for the sake of attaining immortality and experiencing the eternal bliss that comes out of it, dares to turn all these senses within, which are always running outward. So this thought has come again and again. Here also he says, Nanushyanam sahastreshu in last chapter, Kaschit yatati siddhaye, yatatam api siddhanam kaschit mam veti tatataha. Out of thousands of people, only a few take to this path of spirituality. Out of those who take to this path and achieve something in this, some one person comes to know about my true nature. You may have spiritual understanding, but it may be most of the times misunderstanding. Lot of these spiritual camps go on nowadays, even online spiritual camps go on, where everybody is told how to sit, how to breathe, how to meditate, what to wear, what not to wear, what to eat, what not to eat, and they think all this is spirituality. Yoga means, now we are going to celebrate the Yoga Day. And while on one side it is a very happy thing that the whole world recognizes that India is the motherland of yoga, in the sense yoga originated from the soil of India, and now the whole world accepts it and they are all trying to do that. But this yoga which we are trying to do on 21st June every year, and after that any which ways we don't do, that yoga is only about bending the body. But where is the mending the senses and ending the mind? When is that going to happen? Bending the body is only one part of the yoga. But mending the senses, the outgoing senses, turning them within, is mending the senses. When will that yoga happen? And ending the mind, that is the final yoga. Mind does not move at all. Manas, what other Upanishads say, Mandukya says, Amani Bhava, means there is no mind at all. That state is something where mind is not there. It means there is no thought at that time. There is only an experience but no thoughts about it. That is Samadhi. So when are we going to reach that yoga? I hope someday we will be able to teach the world complete integrated yoga. This integrated yoga is of the body, the senses and the mind, and does not end with that. The Bhagavad Gita is the true textbook of yoga. Because while Krishna says in Dhyana Yoga, find whatever kusha grass and deer skin and a clean cloth and sit on top and things like that. But that's, and keep your spine steady and head, all that stuff is fine. But that's still pertaining to body. Then Krishna tells how keep your senses under control, keep your mind steady like the flame that does not flicker in the absence of any wind. Keep your mind as steady as that, and then think of this idea of Supreme Brahman. And then the idea, if it's thought for so long enough, it will reveal itself to you. Sputa is the word used in our Upanishad, that it flashes like the Vidyul Lekha, like the lightning. When it flashes, all of a sudden everything is visible clearly. Like that it flashes. For all rishis, the knowledge has come to them like a flash, like a Vidyul Lekha, like the lightning flash. So when will that happen to us is the effort that we need to put and decide to attain it someday. Anyway, so last chapter, he said there are many people who don't want to understand my true nature. I have two natures, he said, right? One is the para prakriti and one is the apara prakriti. Apara prakriti is all these 5 elements, mana, buddhi and ahankara. All that is my manifestation only in you. But at the same time, I have a para prakriti also, which is beyond all this, which is beyond the 3 gunas also. I am untouched by all these things, though everything has come out of me. Like this space only has been segregated into a Premamrutam hall, and then the outside, and then the other rooms. While the Premamrutam hall was not there, it was one single space. But now the Premamrutam hall has come, it has become an enclosed space. But this space and the space outside are not 2 different spaces in a true way. But it looks like 2 different spaces. Likewise, the same material world also has come out of the same divinity, which is otherwise unmanifest, but we think of it as material world and we think of that as the spiritual world. But the truth is that the two don't exist. Another way of looking at it, our students of science know energy can never be created nor be destroyed. It can only be transformed from one form to another. Likewise, the divinity, you can think of it like energy. It has transformed itself into matter, the material world, the lower Prakriti, what Krishna says. But there is a higher Prakriti of Krishna, unmanifest one, Nirguna, Nirakara Swarupa. And same thing is also told in many Upanishads. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad also says, Devava Brahmano Rupe. There are 2 kinds of Brahman, Murtam cha, Amurtam cha. There is one which is form, with a form, one is without form. Martyam cha, Amrutam cha. There is one which dies and perishes and one which does not die and perish. Like this is Satcha, Tyacha. So it keeps on defining how Brahma or Brahman. See, this is different from Brahma, because there is going to be Brahma coming in this chapter. Now don't get confused. Brahma is the one who was associated with creation, the creator. But Brahman is the substratum, the underlying consciousness which pervades everything. 2 different things are there. So that we will slowly discuss over here. However, before we jump into the next chapter, we get into this chapter of Akshara Brahma, we must remind ourselves that towards the end of the previous chapter, see, Sri Krishna says that though people are coming to me for various reasons, like Arti, Jignasu, Artarti and Jnani, is the Jnani who are dearest to me, because they come to me for the sake of me, my sake. They don't come to seek anything. Job beku, madve beku, makkala beku, mane beku, amele promotion beku, mare makkala beda, madve beda, hendati beda, ragadvesha. He says somewhere, Ichha bhaya. First you want everything and then you are scared of everything. You don't want it. So that is the idea of when first we want the world. We feel world is very nice. We want to have it and we pray and bother God, all kinds of God. He says, yo, yam, yam, tanum, bhakta. You go to every God and pray. Once we get that, then we don't want it. Then we pray to God, please somehow help me get rid of him or her or this or that. That's the next part. So this drama goes on. Krishna knows it and he laughs it, I'm sure, laughs within himself. That again and again this happens. But he says finally somebody grows in spiritual pursuit and Bahunam Janmanamante Granvan Mam Prapadyate. After many, many births of such struggle, of what you call trial and error, they finally come to a conclusion that it's not worth it. And then they come to Krishna and says, Krishna, you are the only one I want. I want to fall at your feet. What you call prapadyate. They invoke the grace of Lord because they are done with the world. Enough is enough like that. Mundaka Upanishad says, after having gone through all experiences of the world, one finally comes to the Guru. How with Samit Pani, they say, with dry wood. Dry wood is symbolic of a dry mind, which is now completely detached from the worldly wetness. With that mind, person comes. But when he comes after having many births, gone through many births and births of this, like Buddha's stories are there. If those children who might be interested, Buddha's life stories, previous Janma stories are there as the Jataka tales. So you can read all that. The thing is that he says, finally somebody comes and asks for me for my sake. And that person is truly, truly rare to find, he says. It's not easy to find. Durlabha, not Durlabha, Sudurlabha. Very, very rare to find such a person. And finally he says, people do all these things. At the end, the foolish fellows don't understand my higher nature. They are busy with my lower nature only, including the Dvaita Bhakti. Dvaita Bhakti means Krishna means the one who taught Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, who fought the battle or who drove the chariot of Arjuna, who played with the Gopikas and Gopalas, who was the king of Mathura and Dwaraka. That Krishna is not what he is talking about. That is also in the lower apara form only, because that also has perishability associated with it. Anything which perishes is not the higher form, lower form, which changes or perishes. So even that kind of bhakti also does not lead us to the highest. So therefore the next chapter, Akshara Brahma Yoga. We become devotees of Krishna. I am not Arti, I am not Jignasu Artarthi, I am Jnani. What jnana you have? Krishna was the one who was born in Dwapara Yuga and then he died because one fellow shot an arrow at his foot. And that's it. After that, nowhere about, we don't know what happened. Story ends there. So that is not the Krishna we are talking about. We are talking about a higher version of Krishna, what you call the para prakriti of Krishna, the supreme consciousness. So that is called as Brahman, or Brahma at times. But there is Brahma. Brahma is the one who created. He is not Brahma. So that little differentiation everybody should pay attention to. So last two shlokas of the previous chapter, where Krishna reveals a few concepts to Arjuna without explaining them. I also did not explain it last time because the explanation is coming now. Around 29th chapter, Krishna says, 29th shloka of the previous chapter, he says, Jara marana mokshaya mama shritya yatantiye te brahma tadviduhu kritsna madhyatmam karma chakhilam. He says, those people who are desirous of getting rid of this jara marana. Jara means old age. Marana means death of the body. Those who are fed up with this again and again becoming old and dying. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janari jatare shayanam. Those who are fed up with this. Now we are still not fed up, so we are not going to think about it. But those who are fed up, I'm sure old people feel this way. Many old people tell me, enough is enough, Swami. Now you please take me and take me unto you, and things like that they pray. Because they are fed up with their old body which does not cooperate. They want to say something, they end up saying something else. Nobody wants them. And they cannot take care of themselves. Their independence is gone. They feel terrible. So at that point in time, suddenly Vairagya comes. Please get me out of this mess and give me moksha. But have you deserved moksha? Have you earned moksha? Just because you got old does not make you deserving of moksha. Old anyway you will become either ways, whether you are a jnani or a jnani. But that does not entitle you to moksha. Your moksha comes only when you have lived in a way that you have deserved it by the end of your life. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha, we say. So when you do the dharma, you do the artha, kama, and then you come to moksha. But have you lived your life which makes you deserving of that moksha is the question that we must ask. So these people, he says, are those who want to get rid of this, and therefore they come and take refuge in me. They depend on me for that. By putting efforts, not that simply you come and fall at God's feet. Many people say, Swami, you are supposed to be ahetuka daya sindhu, you are supposed to be compassionate without reason. So I'll commit all the sins and finally I'll come and fall at your feet and then invoke your ahetuka daya sindhu nature, and then, hopefully you will forgive all my sins and all that. No, don't play with God. Playing with God is like playing with fire. You can't fool God. After doing all kinds of things, and then you think, anyway, at the end, I know he is Karuna Sindhu, just go and cry, shed 2 tears, and he'll melt and forgive. No, he has created the whole world, he has created you and your Kutila Buddhi also. He knows what's going on inside you. So don't be dishonest with God. He is not going to forgive you just like that. He will also act like, yes, yes, I have forgiven, next time you'll be born only as pig, and then you start again from there. Doesn't work. Don't fool God. So these people who have worked hard, because their desires of getting rid of moksha, like the Kathopanishad says, desires of amrutattva, what do they? They turn their gaze inward. That is the effort they put. So these people would want to get rid of te brahma tadviduhu kritsnam adhyatma karma kakhilam. They come to know of that Brahman, because they know all the things that are happening is because of that Brahman, and that Brahman is adhyatmam, is also within as he is without. With that idea, they do all the activities, and they see all the activities as being done that way. So that is the final result of having put efforts all your life, that at the end you have realized that ultimate truth within and without. And they also know that Sadi Bhutadi Daivam Mam Sadi Yajnam Chaye Viduhu Prayana Kale Picha Mam Te Vidur Yukta Chetasaha. He says those people also know that while I am the Param Brahma, who is within, without and everywhere, I am also the Lord of this material world. I am also the Lord who enables the other gods and demigods to do their jobs. Bless you with all kinds of desires. And I am also the one who enjoys all that you are going through in life. Yajna. So these are the 4-5 words uses. One is uses Brahma, other uses Adhyatma, then uses Adhibhauta, then uses Adhiyajna. And finally says Prayana Kale. At the final stage, when they are about to leave the body, they are aware of this truth. Who? Those who have put efforts all through their lives. So that is the thing he says. Why he is telling Arjuna this? Because there is a possibility when Krishna is teaching Arjuna about his true nature, that Arjuna may not grasp. He can get entangled in the physical form of Krishna and might not raise himself to the understanding of the higher Nirguna Nirakara Rupa. So see how Krishna is building the whole case. First he tells, do your actions so that you purify your mind, do it without desire for results, do it as an offering to me, think of me and do your roles, all that. Then slowly he says, but your mind is not always steady, you do your action but you don't think of me. Many times our devotees say, till then I was thinking, that moment only, I don't know, I got so involved that I stopped thinking of you. How do I maintain that always, man mein Ram, hath mein kam, how do I do that? So that he says, do some dhyana yoga for that. Put some efforts to steady your mind. Shanai Shanai Uparamate. Slowly and slowly, every time it runs away, bring it back. Like a child which is naughty, runs away, you put him back in the class. So do that, put Abhyasa Yoga. He says, practice yoga. What is Abhyasa? Detaching from the world, attaching to the God. So this detaching, attaching yoga is Abhyasa Yoga. What is the practice? Detaching from the world. But if you don't attach immediately to God, you'll go back and attach to the world again. That doesn't work. Like Vikram Betal's story is there. No? So that is how the mind will behave. So both you have to learn, detaching from the world and attaching immediately to God. That is Abhyasa. He says, keep doing that. How long you should do? Till you attain it. So will it happen in 20 minutes? May not be. Will it happen in 20 years? No idea. Will it happen in 20 births? Absolutely no clue. But can it happen now? Yes, very much possible, if you have that effort and sincerity. So there is no timeline for this. It depends on your sincerity. Shraddhavan labate jnanam. So you put Shraddha and put this effort, it happens. So now Krishna has revealed some concepts, and slowly he wants to tell him about the higher truth, that you should meditate not on a form and a name, but on that highest truth. Therefore, Akshara Brahma Yoga, uniting our mind to the idea that God is Akshara. Akshara. Akshara means perishable, diminishable, in a way destructible also, or changeable also. But none of these is Akshara. Like Akshara, we call it, alphabets are called Akshara because we can't break that down further. A cannot be further broken down into further sounds. That's the lowest sound that you can get into. Like that, Akshara. Divinity is the very fundamental substratum. You can't further divide it. It's indivisible. But also it is unchangeable. It's not just imperishable. Imperishable means you can continue to live like somebody who has been blessed, like Hanuman or somebody. But they are changing. Their body is nevertheless getting older. What I'm trying to say is, it's imperishable and also unchangeable. Unchangeable. It does not undergo any change whatsoever. It remains same, steady. Sanatana is the name. That's why our dharma is called Sanatana Dharma. that does not change. That law which does not change is the dharma that we follow as Indians. Because our law says divinity does not change and you are that divine. But then I say, I change all the time. Yes, that is because you are deluded thinking that you are anything other than that unchangeable divinity. That is the Maya. Krishna talks about that Maya in the previous, how you identify yourself, body, mind and other things. So let me start this chapter. Arjuna Uvacha. Generally it's Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, but this time Arjuna because he's the questioner. And I love this method, question and answer. So Arjuna is asking, good, you told me about so many things, but I don't know any details. So please explain. Kim Tad Brahma? What is that Brahma that you talk about? Kim Adhyatmam? What is Adhyatma pertaining to the self? Kim Karma? What is action? Purushottama, or the best of the men, please explain to me. Adibhutam cha kim proktam? What is Adibhutam? What is pertaining to this material world? Who is the Lord of this material world? You said you alone are that. Then Adidaivam kimuchyate, and the Adidaiva, Lord of all the deities. Who is that? You say you are that. How is all this possible? You say you are only Brahman. You are only Adibhuta, Adidaiva. You are only Adi Atman. No, what all you are? Explain to me. And then he continues in the second shloka too. He says, Adiyagnya katham. Who is the Lord of the Yajnas? You say you are the Lord of the Yajnas. Ko atra dehe. In the body, who is that who enjoys all my actions? You said you enjoy, but how is that? You are outside me. How can you enjoy inside me? You eat, you enjoy. I eat, I enjoy. How can I eat and you enjoy? So that is the idea Arjuna is asking. Dehasmin Madhusudana prayana kalecha katham geyosi niyatatmabi. How do we get to know at the end, last moment? You said it's very important to realize you. Those who are disciplined niyatatma, they know you at the end as all this. How is it that we come to know of you? So how many questions he has done? He has 7 questions. 1, Kim Brahma? What is that Brahma? Kim Adhyatmam? What is that Lord of the Self? 3, Kim Karma? What is action? Kim Adibhutam? Who is the Lord of the material cause? Kim Adidaivam? Who is the Lord of the Daiva? Daiva means generally it is considered as Devatas who are controlling the world, like you have Vayu, Varuna and all that. Similarly, also we think of Devatas as our senses, who are able to help us see or hear or taste, smell, touch. So they are also called Devata, who make us experience the world around. That's called Diva, means effulgence, or which throws light on something, Diva. So that is our senses. Through senses we experience the world. So who is the Lord of that? Adhiyagnya, who enjoys all that I do, including tasting, hearing, smelling, touching, all that. Who enjoys it? And where does he reside within? That person who enjoys, because if I am not enjoying, somebody else is enjoying, you say, who is that? How does he stay? And these are the questions. And finally, 7th question is, final moments, how do we get to know of that truth? Do you think these questions are important for us, or is it out of syllabus? This is the syllabus. This is the only syllabus. Everything else is out of syllabus. You better know who all this is. You don't know anything about yourself. You know nothing about your phone, your computers, your cars, your homes, everything you know, including what's happening in which country and what's happening in whose home. But you don't know what's happening within you and around you. This is all about you and around you. So that is very important, because unless we know what we are, who we are, how do we use this life correctly? We'll misuse this life if we don't know it, don't know how to use it. So the most compassionate Lord, Krishna, explains, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, very short definitions. Is one stanza, 5 definitions done. Man of few words in that way. Aksharam Brahma Param. What is Brahma? Aksharam and Param, 2 adjectives. Aksharam, now, imperishable and unchangeable, and Param, that is the highest. Beyond that, there is nothing. You can't say there is something that exists beyond that. No, nothing exists. It is the highest. So Aksharam, Brahma, Param. This is the definition he has given. Now, Aksharam Para Brahma is the first definition. Then, what is Adhyatma? He says, Swabhavo Adhyatma Uchyate. Very beautiful and clear definition. Swabhava is Adhyatma. How do I exist in you as Adhyatma? Atma means self, this self, body. How do I exist? How am I the Lord of the self? As Swabhava, your nature. Your very nature is me, he says. Now don't think that I am not a good man or I am an evil man or a woman. Then is that Krishna only? No, Krishna is the purer form. You have, like the bulb, that red bulb will show red light, or red glass will pass the sunlight. When the sunlight passes, it becomes reddish in color. So this red, green, yellow is your manas. Light was same. But he says, I am that your very nature. because of which you are what you are. Now you will say, I am a doctor. So are you the doctor in me? No. Are you the engineer in me? No. What I am is the ability in you to be the doctor. The ability in you to become the engineer. The ability in you to become whatever, including a criminal. What is that ability? The very consciousness is the ability. The very idea of being able to experience the world. How do we experience? Somebody who's in coma, somebody who's in a vegetative state. He doesn't see the world the same as us. His abilities are diminished. That very ability is me, swa, bhava, my feeling, I am this. That feeling that we get, that feeling itself is Krishna in one way within us, he says. So what is our true nature? As I said, after we discard everything, what remains is our true nature. See, if you think my true nature is, I am a teacher, but when you were a kid, you were not a teacher. And when you will grow up, you may not remain a teacher. No, I am a young man, but you are a young man only now. You may not remain a young man after some time. In fact, you may not even remain a man after some more time. You may not remain. So how is that your true nature? Your thoughts cannot be your true nature because they keep changing. Your emotions cannot be your true nature because they keep changing. So what is that which remains always, despite when you are a baby, when you are a grown-up, when you are an old man, and when you are gone? So what remains about you is your true nature. He says divinity is your true nature because that consciousness remains. Everything we see in that consciousness. So Adi Atma means that Jiva. Remember last time he said, how I appear in each one of us as Jiva. Jiva is like the electricity inside that small bulb. Same electricity, but this electricity right now flowing through that small bulb belongs to that bulb, apparently. This space which is within Premamritam belongs to Premamritam, apparently. Else every space is same. Else every electricity is same. Current is same. That is the idea. That divinity which is within enables us to do all our activities. That divinity is also Krishna. It's called Adhyatmam at that point in time. Then next, very beautiful definition, you must pay attention. He says, what is karma? Generally we know karma means we are doing all these things and suffering because of it. Krishna doesn't say karma is that which creates suffering. What he says, bhuta bhavod bhavak karo visarga karma sangitaha. He says those people who know about it have said. What they have said about karma? He says karma is that which creates your past and future. And visarga, sarga means world, visarga means special worlds. What is special worlds? Everybody sees this world differently, isn't it? So the attitude that you have, the interest or the instincts and the aptitude you have, all that defines the world that you create around you. See, when we came to Satyasai Grama and we are living here, it's a different world. People come and say, this is like Swargaloka. This is like a Bhuvai they say. And just a few kilometers away is Bangalore. And you know what Loka is that. So, how did this world get created out of that whole world? Because of people who think alike, think in a pure way, think in a nice way, think in a divine way. This whole place has become a different world. So, visargaha, karma create the world, he says. So physically, yes, this world around us in Muddenhalli we have created for ourselves. Every child has his own world. He sees things differently. Every woman, man sees things differently based on his ideas. Those ideas have come from habits, exposures, actions. So those have come from where? From many, many births. So what is karma? Krishna defines karma is that which creates your fruits of action, in the sense the past and the future. Including your present is your result of some karma. So that is karma, he says. And also visarga, it creates your world for you. It does not create the whole world. It creates your world for you, your little world in which you live, which is your own making. So if you think it's a miserable world, you have to ask yourself, who made it miserable for you? If it is a happy world, who made it happy for you? Duryodhana was told, search for one good person in this whole town. And Yudhishthira was told, search for one bad person in this whole town. Both came back to Krishna saying, there is not one good person, Duryodhana says, and not one bad person, Yudhishthira says, in the same town. How is it possible? Visarga, Duryodhana sees everybody as evil, because his reflection, Yadbhavam, and Yudhishthira says everybody is good. So that is the idea, Visarga. So what a beautiful definition of karma. Karma is that which creates your world for you. And eventually we will learn that this is not the only world. There are many worlds. They also get created, or you also experience those based on your karmas. So now we have gone to three definitions: Akshara Parabrahma, Svabhavo, Adhyatmuchyate, Bhut Bhavodbhavakaro Isarga, Karma Sangitaha. Now another definition of Adhibhutam. What is Adhibhuta? Material side of things, like our body and all the senses and all the five elements in which we dwell. What is that? He says, Adhibhutam Ksharo Bhava. Whatever is perishable side of this world, that is Adhibhuta. I am the Lord of that also. Example, energy turns into matter. Now matter is also energy only in other form, but it's a perishable thing. Energy is imperishable. So this aspect of the creation is also me, which is like his apara nature. Then he says, Purushaschadi Daivatam. What is Adi Daiva? Who is the Lord of all the gods? Suppose all the ministers report to the Prime Minister, right? So the Prime Minister rules over all the ministers. So ministers are like Daivas, then Adi Daiva is the Prime Minister. So you go to any god and pray. Ultimately, last chapter he said, I only am behind Vidadhati Kaman. I only fulfill all desires in different ways. You write to Minister of Education, you will get permission. But he is acting on behalf of the Prime Minister. You write to the Minister of Health, he is doing his duty on behalf of the Prime Minister's government. Likewise, all these deities work under the great lordship of the Supreme only. Krishna says, I am that Supreme Lord also. And he uses the word Purusha. Purusha also means the one who dwells within a pura, a body or a place. So we go to Aitreya Upanishad, there we see these definitions of Brahman comes, then Ishvara comes, then comes Hiranyagarbha, then comes Virata Purusha, that is Virata Purusha. So this definition also is me, he says. Then who else is there? Adi Yajño Hameva. I am only the one who enjoys everything. What is Yajna? Yajna is not only what we put into the fire during Dasara. That is one type of Yajna. But he says Yajñat Karma Samudbhava, he told long back to us. All karmas are Yajnas only. If you offer it to God, it becomes Yajna. So what is Yajna going on within us? Every day we chant Brahma Arpadam, Brahma Havi, Brahma Agno, Brahmana Utam. This Yajna, whatever we are offering, the one who is, what does Krishna say? Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashrita. I am living within you as the fire in the belly which digests all the food and enjoys. So Lord only is doing this internal processes also. I only enjoy what you hear, taste, smell, touch. Finally it reaches me only, he says. So that's why I keep telling. So what do you want to offer to God? What kind of songs you should hear, what kind of sights you should see, what kind of things you should eat, because that is all going to go to the Lord at the end. Can I do anything which is not proper so that I don't displease the Lord? No, I want to please the Lord. That's my purpose. So we will become careful when we know Krishna only is within, without, in everything. So in all aspects, you see, from the very indweller within who enjoys all that we do, to the one, Adhibhuta, who does all the things for us, who created the world around us for us to do things, to Adhidaiva, who does all the things through our senses, to Adhyatma, the Jivatma, who witnesses all the thing that is happening, to the Parabrahma, Akshara Parabrahma, everything is me only, he is saying. That is the idea, that God only is everything. Man only becomes a father when he has children. Man only becomes a grandfather when he has grandchildren. A man only becomes a professor when he goes to the college and teaches. Man only becomes a son when he goes to his father. Man only becomes a brother when he meets his siblings. So same man is in different form. Same way Krishna says, when I am nothing, I will say, when I am with man, I am a man. When I am with women, I am a woman. When I am with children, I am a child. When I am alone, I am God. That is the idea. So alone, Parabrahma. With the world, Bhuta. With the senses, Daiva. As the enjoyer of everything, Yajna. As the enabler of creation of different worlds through actions, Karma Devata also he only is. So this is the idea that Krishna is everything. So he tells Arjuna, oh Arjuna, this is what I am. And here he uses a very new word, Deha Britam Varaha. You are the best of the embodiments, he tells Arjuna here. Different adjective for Arjuna. So far, Dhananjaya, Parantapaha, this, that and all that. This is a Deha Brita. You are also embodiments. He is reminding him. Among all the people who are embodied here, you are now the better embodiments. That's why I am teaching you this. Because not everybody is ready for this lesson. You are ready. So he appreciates Arjuna's discipleship at this point of view, because Arjuna has asked the right questions. He simply didn't say, what did teacher say? Exam time le nodana. That attitude, Arjuna, no, Swami, now when here I told, what is the Vidyarthi Panchalakshanaha? First is Kakacheshta. You should pursue your teacher till he gives you the knowledge. You should not give up. Kakacheshta. So Arjuna has the inquisitiveness. I will not leave Krishna till he explains everything. So Krishna says, Deha Britam Varaha, you are the best of the human beings around. Of all the people in the battlefield, you seem to be the better of the lot. Because you have right questions you're asking. Then Krishna says, fifth shloka, one more is left, no, one question is left unanswered. What is that? Prayana Kale, when end, how do we get to know if you? Now, all the other shlokas of this chapter is only the answer to this last question, seventh question. All the other things are concepts which have been cleared. If you want to read more about it, and these are Vedantic concepts, you can read Tattva Bodha, which has several of these concepts clearly explained.